Hot 919 playing you the best in Joburg's old school and R&B. It's about that time of the afternoon for us to get into business with Bunny. I'm excited to be joined on the line by D6 CEO Willem Kitshoff. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bunny. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to chat to you. We're talking about something that I find quite interesting, planning for digital advertising. So before we get into the meat of it, tell me first who D6 are. Tell me about the D6 group and what it is that you do.
So thanks, Bunny. D6 started off initially only to provide communication platforms to schools, and it grew quite significantly since 2009. We currently service approximately 2,300 schools locally with our software, and the software has grown not only to be a communication platform but also a school management platform. So technically, there's four things that we actually want to achieve within D6 Group. The first thing is we want to ensure that these schools or community organizations in general operate as effectively as possible, because I think all of us from a community perspective can benefit from more effective organizations in our community. And we do that obviously through the provision of our software. So schools will then utilize the software as an example to manage all their related functions, admin, curriculum, finance, and communication. And then the communication module is also beneficial because churches, clubs, residential estates, etc., can also use that, which means that gets me to my second point that we do is we ensure that parents or members in a community connect more seamlessly to their organization, so you can consume information of the community that you're part of on an application, and it consolidates everything. So you can, as a parent, get information of your school and learners, but also of your church and club that you are part of. The third thing that we then do is, given the fact that we've got all of these end users or parents on the application, and currently we serve about 750,000 parents nationally, that provides quite a nice advertising platform for community-based organizations or your businesses in local communities. So we enable the businesses in community to then advertise on these platforms, which means that, as an example, the hairdresser across the street can advertise on the school's platform across the street and to ensure that they only reach those parents. Where currently, from a digital perspective, it's quite difficult to have that specific target capability. I know Facebook and Google do provide some of it, but we are very specific in terms of reaching parents with learners, and then obviously a very specific geographical reach. And then the last thing is decaching communities completely. So we're trying to remove the use of cash on all of these communities, especially schools, which does carry quite a hefty portion of cash on campus, which is obviously a massive risk for theft and fraud.
And now, what kind of schools are you servicing? Is there a particular focus in the types of schools?
So our schools that we service are primarily your quintile 4 and 5 schools, which, if we use our old traditional language, it would have been the former Model C schools and private schools.
Right.
So we target the top-end schools in the country, and that obviously gives the advertisers the ability to reach those specific parents of those top-end schools. And you can select a blend of schools. So you can, as an example, in a specific environment, select 3 or 4 or 5 schools that you advertise on, which means that you can place your products on the advertising platform or the application that we serve. The type of ads that you serve is obviously a banner that runs on our communication application. We've got 2 apps available. It's the D6 School Communicator that a lot of you might know, and then also the latest one, our D6 Connect application.
Okay.
And advertisers then have the ability to promote their products on the application, and we do all the measurement in terms of the performance of that ad. So we will send you a weekly report or a digest report of your specific ad, which consists of all the impressions that were served, the unique users reached, all the clicks and engagement on the specific advertisement. So you've got full transparency in terms of the performance of your specific ad.
Fantastic. Now, it sounds like an all-encompassing, really kind of focused area for advertisers. Can any business advertise on your platform?
Technically, yes. But we've got quite a strict advertising policy. Obviously, we do not allow for any weird and funny things to be advertised, specifically alcohol, cigarettes, gambling, politics, religion. So we try and keep it as clean as possible. Obviously, it's quite a big school-related place, so we want to keep it, not that any of those previously mentioned are not bona fide, but we we follow what they call the Disney mom concept, which means that anything that's fine for the Disney mom should be fine for advertising on our platform.
That makes sense. Something that comes to mind is if I'm an advertiser, but I don't really know what in terms of design, what I would like to place on the platform. Do you assist when it comes to design? Can you help with banner designs?
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting thing. I think one thing that we have seen in the past is that the type of banners we get from advertisers are some horrific, some great. And unfortunately, on a digital platform, the advertising campaign will only be as successful as the banner design and the campaign management. So if you don't have, a good strategy, first creating awareness with your campaign, and maybe after that, only call to action or engagement. And secondly, obviously, if you don't have good advertising banner designs, it won't be successful.
Right.
So we've got a team that can support you in the design of your banners to ensure that it's funkified to some extent, and to ensure that we attract users.
Now, before I let you go, tell me a little bit about the relationship you have to the schools in which you advertise. I imagine doing something so community-focused has some kind of a symbiosis.
Yes, so as mentioned, our core intent is to get these organizations to operate more effectively. And one thing which is a massive burden in community and for schools is they don't have funding to pay for software and to software-related applications in order to make them more effective. But what we then do is, in order to incentivize them to use it as effectively as possible, we share back a portion of the advertising spent back to the school or organization with the intent that it offset the cost of the software,
Right.
and it could eventually make them money. So it becomes a self-funding model where businesses, they advertise, they pay for the advertising, but the schools benefit from it.
So if somebody's listening and they think, sure, that sounds perfect, I would love to make use of the D6 platform, how can they do that?
So they can either visit our website at d6.co.za/media. They can also send us an email to marketing@d6.co.za, or they can give us a call on 087-820-0088.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing the D6, I want to say revolution, with us. Willem, thank you for your time this afternoon.
No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That is D6 CEO Willem Kitshoff this afternoon on Hot 91.9.